on the street. I'm like, what is that? It's, yeah. You know, I'm like, and so they got a little okay. Not like because I should have the phone something else. Because if you're a country store, you want to see.
Okay, we ready? Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Oklahoma County Board of Adjustment meeting. Notice was duly published and posted on October the 18th of 2024. Call this meeting to order and have a roll call, please.
Yes, the members of the Board of Adjustment are Jennifer Arsenault, Mr. Randy Goodman,
Here.
Mr. Cooper Robinson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the previous meeting of May the 21st. Either members had an opportunity to review those, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Jennifer, Mr. Goodman,
Aye.
and Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible action of approval, denial of a variance request to the Oklahoma County zoning regulations by Robert and Sherry Nixon. Are you present? Okay.
So I just wanted to give some just background information of what their request is and some information as far as the people that have contacted us that are in the area. What their request is they want to add an additional residential unit to the property. The property is currently zoned R2. In R2 rural residential zoning, you can put one dwelling per 2 acres of property. In this case, they have 2.5 acres. Their request is just to add an additional dwelling unit. In this case, it's going to be in the form of a manufactured home, but they want to add an additional dwelling unit to the 2.5 acres that they have there. So that's the reason for their request today, is to get relief from the R2 zoning for that particular requirement. In regards to some of the phone calls that I've received here in the last couple of days or so, I know there's one gentleman that's here, but I think there's some other folks that weren't able to attend. I know the adjacent property owner to the east of this particular piece of property, he had some concern. Apparently, he feels as though that the Nixons have been renting out the current home that's on the property. And I guess there's some repair issues with the home, but also just property maintenance issues with the home, but also the property itself in general. He was also concerned that the additional residence that was going to be placed there was also going to be a rental unit instead of them actually living there on the property. So that was his concern. From my understanding, that's kind of a similar concern of the gentleman who was able to make it, but I'll let him give his opinion when it comes time for that. So that's the only information that I have on this particular item.
Okay, thank you. Mr. or Mrs. Nixon, would you like to address the board?
I have a question for Eric. I have a question for Eric.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Eric, have you prepared an analysis of this, or have you any additional paperwork in the file regarding the application?
In regard to what degree, I guess?
Just the some of the facts that you decided, any particular provision of law that we should pay close attention to other than what you've described today?
No, really, I know a lot of cities and towns have different ways that they treat, I guess some may see this as an accessory dwelling unit. So the county, we don't have those type of regulations. Basically what it boils down to, it doesn't matter if it's a on-site built home, a manufactured home, a tiny home, whatever the size may be, the county zoning regulation in regards to R2, each dwelling unit has to have its own separate 2 acres of property. So like I said, really for them to be in compliance without having to come to this board, they would have to have a total of 4 acres.
So it could be 500 square feet.
Exactly.
It would need 2 acres.
That's right. It doesn't, we don't differentiate between the size of each individual structure.
Okay. Thank you.
You have any questions of Aaron? Mr. Nixon?
Yes, sir. Guess I need to get taller. The issue is, well, there are a couple issues. One is, took a job in Nebraska, and moved away 8 years ago, and we rented the house at that time. And now we've moved back, in part because my father was not doing so well, and her mother was not doing so well. And unfortunately, her father, my wife's father, died on Memorial Day, and her mother needs to be close to family. And so our plan is to move back into the home and to move her new mobile home on there so she can stay close to us. As far as the other issues, honestly, like I said, I've lived there before, and I don't think anybody would say that while I was living there it was in bad repair. The only thing, honestly, that would stop us from moving back there, and you know, I have several ideas in mind that I want to do for the property, namely start with the gate around the front and the fencing. But if we can't move there, then if we can't move there and have my mother-in-law with us, then that, how can I say, that would make us less inclined to do those things, but I'm still interested. The other issue right now is that the lady that we've been renting to for the last few years, she's well, last 8 years, she had breast cancer, and so we're like not trying to kick her out right away, but we are anxious to go move back to our home though. And that looks like that's all. I've gotten several calls from people she's interested in renting in, and so that looks to me like that is, I don't want, I'm tempted to say imminent, but that might be overstating it a bit. But I know as a landlord myself, I don't call previous landlords unless I'm pretty serious about renting to the person. So anyway, those are the extra factors as I see it. The property is, I think if we move there and we can have our mother-in-law, I think my neighbors can look forward to the property being much more attractive. I assume they're talking about the yard. The house itself is in good shape, good repair.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? Mr. Nixon,
Yes, sir.
this proposed home is a manufactured home?
That is correct.
What is the square footage of it?
It is, I believe,
Oh, okay. Well, terrible at math.
Oh, wait, did it say on there?
Do 30 by 50s, or, yeah, so it's 1,500 square feet?
I believe it's about 1,600 square feet.
16, okay.
And I don't know if it matters to you guys, but that property, it slopes back away from the road. If it's visible at all, it'll only be slightly from the road.
And this manufactured home belongs to your mother-in-law, your mother,
Myself. I'm
and
co-signing,
your son.
yes.
What is there a written lease with you and your tenant in the main house?
Yes.
And are you in a holdover term?
Yeah, she's month to month.
Okay. That's all I have.
Do you intend to make the manufactured property more permanent? There's ways that you can do that where it's no longer mobile. Have you considered that?
Yes. We already have a slab laid.
Okay.
We didn't know we needed to
Pad.
do this.
Yeah.
So we'd already paid to have the slab laid. We're already planning on putting decks on it. And yes, it's going to be a permanent home.
She misspoke. It's a pad. It's dirt and gravel, but it's been pounded isn't the right word, but they get the road making equipment out there to,
Tamped it down.
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Not planning on it this time. Correct. And the next step for us was to hire somebody to come out and put in a new septic tank for that unit and to get the electric kit hooked up. But then we found out, oh, there's R2 zoning. I'm like, oh, yay. So we're like, well, we better hold off on that until we find out that for sure all the ducks are in a row and we can move ahead. No, actually, I'm staying in Midwest City while we're waiting for the current tenant to move out. No, I'm staying with my mother. That's always wonderful.
No, she's currently living in an RV outside of her sister's house. She's waiting for this decision. If this doesn't pass, we'll have to find new land to put the house on.
And then we'll either renew the lease with the current tenant who's there, or we'll rent to another if she's already moved out by then.
Because she has to live near us. So we'll have to find a
Yeah.
place that we can have a house in her near us.
So this house, this modular home that you're moving in, is what she has now to go first to new one.
She's put half down on it.
Yeah, she's
and
put-
She has the money for the rest of it.
Mr. Chairman, one other question. How is title held to the land?
Sorry.
How is title held to this land?
Well, I have a bank loan.
But is it joint tenant with your wife, joint tenancy, or are there any other?
We have some with it that I have that it's just me, and we have some with her. I think this one is her on it also.
Okay, thank you. Well, both.
No questions. Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Mike McKinnish. I'm the owner of Windrift Orchards. I'm the property that is just south, kind of wraps around where the peach orchard out there in Hera. And I'm sorry for my voice.
Let me get your name again, please.
Sorry for my voice. I had food poisoning the last 3 days. I told this gentleman I didn't know if I was going to make it, but I'm here. My name is Mike McKinnish.
Okay.
What is your address of residence, sir?
My address of residence is in Oklahoma City. It's not, I don't live out there. You want that still?
Sure.
13100 Chadbrook Place, Oklahoma City, 73142.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to speak today. The biggest reason I'm passionate about being up here is gentleman, Robert Nixon, actually called me and told me this is what he was planning on doing. But in that conversation, he'd asked me a couple other questions. And the most important one is he asked me if he could take the address that I currently have on Windrift Orchards. So the Windrift Orchards address is 19400 Northeast 63rd. And I also have another dwelling on that property that's 19300. So the address he has listed here is my address, not his address. And how he was able to accomplish that is he was able to call me. He said if I gave him approval, he could call the planning commission and they'd change my address or change the address. I said, I'm not comfortable with doing that. I need that address. That dwelling is used for H-2A workers when we bring them in for peach harvest and such, and they need a way to get mail, and that's the way it's been for the last, as long as the orchard's been there. So when dishonesty arrives, it calls everything else into question. And so, again, yes, he stated the property's been a rental for as long as I've owned it. I've owned Windrift for 3 years.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
How many dwelling units do you have on your property?
2.
I have
Num-
74 acres.
Okay, thank you.
I have, let's see here. He mentioned, having to buy other property. The property directly to the west is for sale. It's a 2-acre plot, ironically. But, you know, and I just kind of go down my list here. You know, we spoke to things like, and I don't mean to be insensitive to the subject, but it's business. What happens when his mom passes? Is that going to become a rental at that point in time? And or is he going to move out? Now we have 2 rental properties there. And that's, again, it's my concern because the state of the property has totaled cars in the front yard. It has branches throughout the property. I've taken pictures. I have pictures if you need them to email.
But sir, what is your primary concern with the addition of this dwelling unit to this property?
Primary concern is I don't want any more rentals out in this area. I mean, it's
Are
too
you-
close. I run cattle right behind there, that directly would be south. So I have cattle back there.
Is your concern about density or about more private enterprise?
No, it's privacy. It's
Privacy.
density. Yeah, it's density.
Density, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Absolutely. He would have, like he said, it slopes downhill. That property now has access right back into where I run cattle. Let's say someday he decides to rent that out and there's children back there and they wander back, they could go right through the barbed wire fence in there and my cattle. It doesn't sound good to me. But yeah, mine's density. Yeah, that covers my list. Like I said, I probably wouldn't be here as stiff as I am if he hadn't lied about the address and attempted to take the address, but it is what it is. I do know my neighbor, Josh Tepley, had sent in an email. I thought he was gonna read it. If I can read it on his behalf, I would be willing to do that, or he can, but
Yes, please.
said it, Josh says, I am firmly against the approval of this variance. The property has been a rental for the last 8 years. I'm sure will be an additional rental moving forward. The property is not upkept with junk cars, limbs from ice storms years before. In addition, despite what Mr. Nixon claims, the use of the additional domicile, he has proven himself untrustworthy after trying to commandeer part of the adjacent peach farm. Firm no for me. And that's from Josh Tepley, who's the direct neighbor.
I'd like to see the photos that you had.
Do I bring them to you? Or?
Are they on your phone?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
I can email them while I'm sitting in here if you'd like.
that's okay. I
Or
can
bring them.
I guess I can just scroll, can't I?
Yeah. Let me get some pictures up here for you.
Who is selling that 2 acres? Do you know?
I do not. It's a private owner. It's been for sale for at least 2 years.
To the west?
Yes.
Yeah, be over to the left of the both sides.
And where exactly are you again?
My property is south, but those two lots that are right there that are in black. My property is also to the east of that.
How do you access your property?
To the east of that.
Off of 63rd?
Yeah, you can't really see it, but I've got, I think it's 15 acres right there in that front section.
What are the closest north-south cross streets?
North-south cross streets. You got Luther Road and you've got Dobbs, I believe, on the other side.
Luther to the east and Dobbs to the west, or vice versa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it's taking me a second here. May I approach, sir? I got those pictures for you.
Sound like an attorney. That's the entrance right there. I'll look at it.
Can you explain again what you're showing us pictures of for the record? Can you speak into the mic? Thank you.
Those are pictures of the front of the property.
Of the subject property.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Any questions? I was gonna look it up on my phone on the county
Well,
assessor's side.
let's ask Eric about that.
I'm curious just to have clarity. Are you stating that the address listed here, 19300, is actually your address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
So he put on, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Nixon put on the application his address?
That was what he did is he called down here to the office and told the office that I approved that he could have my address,
Oh.
and they changed it. They've since changed it back. It might have been this young lady right here, I think. No, you didn't change it, but we talked when I came up here last time, but yes, he changed it and nobody questioned anything.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, would you entertain a motion at this time, or?
Oh, I would like to hear.
Okay, sorry.
I didn't know you guys wanted a bigger picture of kind of what's out there. So directly to the west is Luther Road, the new turnpike. That circular drive, that's all of his property, the gentleman here.
Odd numbers on the-
And then back to the east is Dobbs. So just to kind of give you a bigger picture of the property that's out there. I think part of the address confusion or what started that process, from my understanding at least, is Mr. Nixon had contacted the assessor's office. And so the assessor really didn't ask any questions of us, since we are the office that addresses the properties in unincorporated Oklahoma County. So we kind of found out about that after the fact, but.
Okay, I understand.
I didn't find out until I got the notice.
Okay.
This one.
There's no other further questions. Mr. Nix, I'd like to ask you another question if I could, please. All the addresses on the south side of 63rd are odd, and all the addresses on the north side are even.
Other
Right.
way, except for what my house was.
Well, it's listed under the county assessors 19311.
I know.
Your house
I know, that's why I wanted to change the address.
to an
Because
even
we
number.
kept, yeah, because our stuff kept getting delivered to the other side of the road. Now, why it was originally set up as 11 instead of something else, I don't know.
Isn't that a United States Postal Service question?
Well, I'm talking about like stuff with FedEx and with UPS and
But they use the USPS database, don't they?
So
I don't know.
so in this case, let's just say that this item is approved.
sure.
Let's just say in this case, this item is approved. When he comes in with his building permit for the manufactured home, we are going to address that manufactured home with a separate address then. We are the ones who create the addresses, and we're the ones who transmits them, if you will, to the county assessor. Then if the post office needs to contact us, they'll contact us. Now, we don't have anything to do, obviously, with you, UPS or FedEx. Obviously, that's beyond us. But a lot of times what they'll do, they'll use the assessor's mapping. They'll use Google, because everybody thinks Google's the Bible, essentially, as far as addressing. But typically,
They just rely on everybody else's data.
Right.
They just aggregate it. They don't.
So there's a lot of confusion. And I think actually on this particular piece of property, we run into this too, I don't want to say frequently, but quite often, where addresses in the past that were given by previous building permits or whatever the case before our time are out there are wrong. So we have to go back and try to fit new addresses within what is wrong, if you will.
Well, it's
To
a
keep-
public health and safety issue.
Right. So we try to keep those addresses in line as possible.
Just another question, Mr. Nixon. Do you also have additional property on South Westminster and on Babb and Southeast 22nd?
That's correct.
So those are all of yours?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And those are all rentals as well?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. All right.
The,
Any other questions?
oh, there were a couple things too I wanted to clear up. What you said earlier was absolutely right. When I wanted to change the address, I called the assessor's office because that's where I thought I was supposed to. And he said, yeah, they said, yeah, 19,300 is fine. And it would make more sense because then we're in numerical order. And then I only later found out from you guys that, oh, well, that's already used. And I started to talk to the other gentleman, and I thought we were still resolving that.
Oh.
But anyway, there's no,
But actually, it's not, because it's not pretty standard. It's absolutely standard that odd numbers go on,
the north. Right, yeah.
on the.
No, I just meant change
south
to 300.
and-
There's nothing there that's intentionally
So it'd probably be
dishonest.
more confusing if you had an even number, say, where's this address? It should be on-
Exactly.
Should
And
be
you
on
got a
this, should be on the-
fire engine coming up there. We don't want them going the other side of the road.
So let me get this straight. The county assessor did not check their own records. Okay,
Seemingly so.
okay.
And then as far as the other stuff, the house, like I said, that's from the tenant, and unfortunately, no one is here that's been here long enough since I lived there. But that stuff wasn't there when I lived there before. The only way that stuff stays there is if it remains a rental. If I don't move back on it with my mother-in-law.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
from Board members?
I don't know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a recommendation by the county, Mr. Brandt? Would, I'd entertain a motion if someone wants to make one, and if we have a second, you can have any further discussion or vote on it.
I would move for denial of the variance.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second, a roll call vote.
Ms. Arsenal, Mr. Goodman,
Aye.
and Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is, Long Zhao. Did I pronounce that correctly? Now, you can say if I didn't, you can go ahead and tell. Okay, good.
So just to provide some background information on this particular request, it was brought to our attention by an adjacent property owner in the neighborhood there that there was a building that was being constructed on this particular piece of property. This is 2304 Northwest 225th Street. This is in the Addington Farms subdivision that's located off of Northwest 220th and Penn. So when it was brought to our attention, we contacted the property owner, let them know what the issue was and the process that we needed to go through to possibly resolve the issue. So this is a structure that is under construction to some degree. From my understanding, it's kind of a pool cabana restroom, from my understanding. The structure itself, I don't think it's very substantial in size, but it is in the setback, the 25-foot setback on the east side. If this is something that is granted, he would be 10 feet into the 25-foot, so he'd still be 15 feet away from that east property line. Then we would have to also get a building permit from us to move forward as far as construction of the building, but also the inspections that are required. I did get one letter of protest that I can provide the board as far as the issues that they had with the structure. Basically, from my understanding, just kind of a brief summary, I guess there is a architectural review committee that's part of the HOA in this particular neighborhood. From my understanding, at least according to this letter, Mr. Zhao didn't go through that process as far as having this particular structure reviewed before he started construction. But there's also some other information in here, so I'll hand that to you so you have an opportunity to review it.
I've seen it already.
Thank you for sending it.
You've seen it?
Somebody missed
It's contrary, so that we can resolve that issue. If we approve it, I don't think. Have you seen that?
Thank you.
Mr. Sal? You have any, would you like to address the board, please?
Hello, I'm the resident of the 2304 Northwest 225th Street. My name
You
is
might
Long.
you might speak into
Yeah,
that.
come closer to the microphone, please. Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Long Zhao, and I'm the resident of the 2304 Northwest 225th Street. And last year, I was putting a pool into my backyard, and we did the underground plumbing for that particular of the concrete piece, and I will try to wait for saving a little bit to build a bathroom for the convenience for the kid. Cause my first floor only have one master bathroom, so it's not convenient for kids in and out. And
Sir,
yes,
can I ask you some questions,
Yes.
please, Mr. Chairman? There appears to be ample property to construct the cabana in another location on your property.
what?
There appears to be ample property to construct the cabana at another location around the pool, convenient to the pool and your guests. Why does it have to go within the setback?
Setback. I didn't think about that way until I got a letter for the 25 feet of the distance, have to be away from the neighbor's property lines.
And you've already poured the pad site for the structure?
Yes, and it got approved last year for underground plumbing.
But that didn't require an application for a variance, did it?
No,
It also appears that your pool gets very close to the setback line.
yeah, it's getting close. Yeah,
And again, there's appears to be ample space more central or in the center of your property behind your home. And you offset it almost on the line of the setback.
I have a question I'd like to ask you.
Mhm.
There, I understand there's a homeowners association,
Mhm.
and they have restrictive covenants on file that governs the operation and the restrictions and what you have to do within the homeowners association, correct?
yes, I did draw the
Did-
blueprint and send it to the ARC department, and they want me to get more paperwork into it. That's what I'm was trying to do.
Did
right
you
now.
make application to them,
Yes, I did.
and did they deny it?
They haven't denied it, but they want me to get more paperwork into it.
Okay, so that's why you're here?
Yes, and
Be-
to get approval from my neighbors. And
My association with homeowners associations is that even if we were to grant it and they don't grant it, they still have the right to file a petition to abate a nuisance for compliance, to force compliance with the restrictions that are on file that
I understand
everybody's
that
on
part.
aware of.
Yeah, everybody have to agree with what I'm doing. I got
Yeah.
that part. Yeah.
So I'm not sure even if we granted this, it would do you any good with them. Of course, that requires them to engage in, if you all can't come, best thing would be if you could come to an agreement. You've got a pad poured, is that correct? Concrete pad
Yeah, concrete pad. Yeah.
for where this cabana room is gonna go? So you've poured the concrete, correct?
Last year. Yeah.
But there's no framing that's occurred yet, correct?
But I did a little bit framing, but I stopped it in the
You
middle.
stopped it?
Yeah.
So how much have you got invested in the concrete?
Last year, all that concrete and pour probably close to 100K,
100 what?
100K.
In the
Pool and the
concrete?
concrete, pool and concrete.
Not the pool. I'm not talking about the pool.
Concrete,
I'm just talking about where you're pouring the cabana room at. Because,
That's-
that
that was
concrete
done at
probably,
one time.
yeah, we did it at one time. So
oh, you
I-
did it all at one time? Okay. Okay. Any further questions?
Not for me, no.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Sir, may,
No, you can come up and if you have something to say. you can- Pardon?
It was regarding a comment you made about the pad.
Well, if you'd like to come up and he, where, you can have a seat. And yes, sir, you can come state your name, please.
Daniel Pascucci. And I
Is
am
that the normal spelling of your?
Pascucci. You have to put your hand up. Just like it sounds. No,
How do you spell that?
Pascucci.
I like it. Okay.
My specific question was about the pad that was poured, and it's for long. We live 2 houses over, so we're the last property you can see on the east, on the south side of 225th. We have a pool. We have a pad similar to his, but when you poured the pad a year ago, did you have plumbing already put in that pad for a bathroom? You did? For a bathroom? Well, that's just for a pool. I mean, I have a pool, so it's permitted for underground plumbing. But okay, that was my only question on that.
Nothing else? Anybody else have it?
well,
Well,
sir,
now's the time.
I have a question. Do you know anything about Italian food? Because we could really use some more Italian restaurants in Oklahoma County. Anyway, go, sorry.
Absolutely, I agree.
Sorry,
Oh,
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, sir. I mean, you're up and you have some,
Well, I would-
you have some
okay.
other things to say.
We moved to this neighborhood in July of 2021, and what was the appeal for this neighborhood for my family was that there was 50 feet between the houses, and so there's a 25-foot setback on either property. We have other houses in the neighborhood who have completely conformed to the 25-foot setback by placing their cabanas behind the pool, or using the amount of 75 feet that's on the west side of the pool to place those. And so it's very concerning to me that if we're going to allow this, even though the CCNRs and the ARC doesn't approve it, then it just opens the gate for other people nullifying the rules that have been set forth that we all paid too much a square foot for these houses for, to live in a neighborhood that had this amount of setback.
Are you on the board of the homeowners association?
I am not. I am just a concerned neighbor. So who has had to go through the ARC and pay $300 just to get a basketball hoop installed, to get a pool, to have a play set put in the correct place. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Not for me.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
And I am on the HOA.
If you could step up to the microphone and give us your name, please.
Hi, I'm Michelle Glenn,
You can pull that microphone.
okay. And I am on the HOA board, and the developer who was unable to attend is watching. And I was to inform you of that when he submitted his full ARC form, it did not have the bathroom plumbing on the drawing, so they were not aware of the underground plumbing that had been extended out to that building. So the developer, who is the ARC, was unaware of it.
How would you know?
Because
Unless
it's-
you were standing on top of it when they were doing the
Oh,
construction.
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have known. But when you submit your ARC form, you're supposed to submit like where your plumbing is, where your pool is, and what the developer's saying is that his office said that it was not on the plans that were submitted. So they were unaware of the additional structure that they could have said ahead of time, you're in your 25-foot easement. The other thing is he put in a basketball goal without permission. They send a letter. They say, hey, you didn't have permission. Now you need to put in 9-foot trees. Didn't respond. We had to have the president knock on his door. We had to send multiple letters, multiple certifications. And as you can see, there are plenty of places to put it. And we ourselves have added a building. We were 35 foot. We're in a neighborhood where like a 25-foot setback is not a big deal. And people want space. And we're concerned about whether a foundation and stem wall is there or if it's on a 4-inch concrete pool deck.
I have a question for you. You're on the board, you
Yes.
say? Has
Yes.
there been any discussion about, regardless of what happens here, what the board will do to? Okay.
At this time, he has not submitted adequate plans to be approved, and he has been told to not continue construction.
Okay. But if
And
we-
I have the emails and I have pictures of what the structure looks like now too.
So my question is hypothetically, and I'm not saying what we will do one way or the other, but if we were to approve it, as I said earlier, I don't think that relieves the applicant of the requirement to comply with the negative covenants on file.
Correct.
So as the board discussed whether they will file a petition to abate a nuisance if it just continues, or has that even been discussed?
That has not been discussed because we have not had a complete package delivered to know what he is wanting to do. And you're not supposed to, according to our CCNRs that were filed with the county, begin construction on a basketball court, a swimming pool, a building without prior ARC approval and a permit from the county of Oklahoma City, or Oklahoma County if it's
Well, I
needed.
wonder if maybe there's a little bit of a miscommunication problem because the applicant's under the understanding that he has to submit more paperwork and he thinks this is part of it. I don't know what kind of conversations are taking place, but you
I
say
know that
is-
there's emails that have been sent.
Okay, all right. I don't have anything else.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No, thank you.
I thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on this issue? Okay,
Hi, I'm Joe Glenn. I'm Michelle's husband.
okay.
My name is on the HOA board, but she runs the deal. But I just had a photo that I'd like to show you of the building. It's pretty much built, and Mr. Zhao has a history of building projects, the pool, the basketball court, and then asking for forgiveness afterwards. The morning we called the ARC the morning this building went up. They said, "Have you seen anything?" They said, "Wait, we'll check the mail." Apparently that morning there was some chicken scratch that said, "Hey, I'm putting a building up," and none of the process for approval was done at that point. And in answer to your question, I don't see the ARC approving this in the event that you do approve the setback. Like Mr. Robinson said, there is plenty of space on that property to put that building up. And in the process of putting the pool in, the plumbing for a bathroom was never mentioned.
Okay. Would you like to see the photo?
No, but I will, sure. Thank you. Wow, okay. And that photo was taken when? Okay, thank you. Now, well, do you have a date?
So the photo you showed us appears to be in the framing stage, which is what we were told.
Yes.
and rafters.
That would.
She stated September the 6th.
Thank you. Of 2024. Okay, thank you.
I entertain a motion if someone would like to make one.
I would move to deny the variance application.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Ms. Arsenault,
Aye.
Mr. Goodman,
Aye.
and Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. Okay, next item on the agenda is new business. Is there any, Mr. Brandt?
No, sir.
I think
Entertain a
that's
motion
enough.
to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Arsenault,
Aye.
and Mr. Goodman,
Aye.
and Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.
We don't usually get unanimous denials.
This is our most exciting meeting yet.
I know.
We had longer than 10 minutes.
You know, I really